about physical properties and changes and chemical properties and changes. Do you know what a physical property and change is? No, let me explain. A physical property is something you can see with your eyes and can be measured without performing an experiment. There are two types of physical properties, intensive and extensive. An extensive property is something that depends on the amount of the substance. Some examples are width, length, and mass. Can you identify the extensive properties? Very good. The length and width are extensive properties. The other kind of physical property is an intensive property. An intensive property does not depend on the amount of the substance. Some examples are color, density, and solubility. Can you identify the intensive property? Very good. The color blue is an intensive property. Now that we have that out of the way, my dear friend Boots will explain physical changes to you.
Hola chicos, I'm Boots. Follow me to my laboratory.
A physical change is something that does not change the chemical composition of a substance. Some examples are cutting, shredding, breaking, and a phase change. There are two types of physical changes, reversible and irreversible. An example of a reversible change is ice to water and water back to ice. An example of an irreversible change is ripping up paper. I can't put the paper back together. This is an example of a phase change. We have a solid, liquid, and a gas. The solid, all the molecules are close together, but then you add energy in the form of heat, and the molecules spread apart and become a liquid. And then you add heat energy to the liquid, and now you get a gas where all the molecules are super far apart. This is an example of a physical change because all the molecules are the same. The chemical composition is the same, it's just that they're more spread apart. Now time for a real-world example of a physical change. Here I have some water and some Kool-Aid. Soon I will pour the Kool-Aid into the water and it will dissolve. Do you know why it will dissolve? No, that's not right. The Kool-Aid will dissolve in the water because of solubility. Solubility is the ability of a solid, liquid, or gaseous substance to dissolve in another substance, which is usually a liquid, to form a solution. A solute is the thing being dissolved, while the solvent is the thing the solute dissolves in. Do you know which one is the solute and which one is the solvent? That's right. The Kool-Aid is the solute and the water is the solvent. Fun fact, water is the universal solvent. Time for the experiment. Safety first, kids. Wow. Notice how the water is changing color, but the water's chemical composition is still the same. The water is still water, it's just now red. Wow, this is one yummy physical change. Back to you, Dora.
Now that we know what a physical property and changes, let's talk about chemical properties and changes. This concept is a little more complex, so let's ask Backpack for some help.
Backpack, 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 backpack. On the backpack loaded up with things and knickknacks.
Hola Dora, I heard you needed help. What's up?
Hola, Backpack. Can you explain to these kids what a chemical property and changes?
Sure can.
A chemical property is a property that can only be discovered after a chemical change occurs. In order for us to understand what a chemical property is, we need to understand what a chemical change is. A chemical change is something that occurs to change what the original substance is. Knowing this, we can understand that chemical properties are the ability of a substance to react. An example of a chemical property is flammability. This is because you can only determine if something is flammable after you light it on fire. When a substance burns, its chemical identity changes. Some other examples of chemical properties are the ability to react, tarnish, and rust. And some examples of chemical changes are gas production, energy change, and the formation of a solid when mixing two liquids together. Hey Dora, maybe we should call someone to do an experiment for us.
You're so right. Who should we call? That's a great idea. Let's call Diego.
Looks like Dora's calling me. I guess I should answer. Hello, Dora?
Hola, Diego. We need you to do an experiment for us. Can you show these kids a chemical experiment?
Sure can, Dora. I'll be right over.
I'm here.
Hola, youngsters. Today, me and my lab partner, Swiper, will be demonstrating a chemical change. Wow! I just want to clarify that me and my lab partner are very qualified chemists, and this should not be done by anyone who isn't a professional. But obviously, we are professionals with amazing lab safety etiquette. So, Swiper, are you ready?
Yes.
Let's get this experiment started. So today we will be cooking a waffle. What's that, Swiper? What'd you say?
Wait, we need to stay safe.
You're so right, Swiper. We do need to practice lab safety. Let's get changed. Perfect. Now we're ready to do our experiment. We got our eye goggles on, our apron on, and something to hold the hair back. Let's get started.
Come on, guys, let's go turn on the grill. Now it's on.
Swiper, can you help me and put the waffle safely on the grill?
Of course, Diego.
Now we wait for it to cook.
Hey, Diego, wanna play Uno?
Yes, Swiper, I'd love to play Uno with you. Uno.
2 hours later.
Uno. Swiper, the waffle! No! 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 The waffle! My waffle! It's burnt! Oh no. Well, I guess this could be an example of a chemical change. The waffle is black and releasing a gas, and it changed colors. The waffle also has a terrible smell. All these things are an indicator of a chemical change. The reactant, my waffle, is different than the product now. This is clearly no longer a waffle. Therefore, a chemical change occurred. This wraps up my chemical change experiment. I hope you learned something. Now, let's shift back to backpack.
Sometimes chemical and physical changes can seem like the other. Gas production can both be a physical and chemical change. This is because when you boil water, steam or water vapor is released. The composition of water doesn't change, only the state of matter. If we look back at Diego's experiment, you can see an example of chemical change. When the waffle burns, smoke is released, and smoke is different than a waffle. Color change can also be both a physical and chemical change. Remember Boots' experiment? The water changed from clear to red when the red Kool-Aid was added. The water is still the same, it just has red Kool-Aid particles dissolved into it. Remembering Diego's experiment again, we can see an example of chemical color change. The waffle changed from yellow to black. I know the black may seem like it's still waffle, but it's not. It's ash.
Thanks, Backpack. I think that wraps up our lesson today. Did you learn anything today? Of course you did. Adios!